Funny Reddit posts and comments. Every Sunday 3 p.m. British time. What's a scary or disturbing fact that would probably keep most people awake at night? There are a fair number of missing nuclear weapons. Scary thing is there's one missing near me, and by near I mean at least 50 miles away and out of harm's way, but it's pretty close. The frontal lobotomy was performed with no anesthesia, and it was an outpatient procedure. Even funner facts. It was performed by sticking an ice pick in the tear duct, punching through the skull, and swishing it around in the brain tissue. There was no way to gauge or predict its effectiveness, because you were just swirling it around in brain tissue. And the funnest fact of all, because of #2, patients were often kept awake and asked questions during the lobotomy to see when their mental performance/behavior changed to determine when the lobotomy was done. Edit with additional fun fact, the guy who invented and popularized it won a Nobel Prize. Well, that makes the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's sadder. You could have a brain aneurysm with 0 symptoms. Any day it could rupture and kill you from significant blood loss. Happened to my mom's friend right in front of her. The seemingly perfectly healthy woman died at 40 without warning during a work trip and while having drinks with her friends. 1 second she was laughing, the next second she was on the ground. Never woke up again. My poor mom was the one that had to call her husband and kids. Happened to my grandmother who was in perfect health. Happened to a classmate from high school at 22. Nicest guy ever. Fell asleep on his couch at home and died. Damn, that's tragic. Something similar happened to a family friend's 19-year-old daughter. She fell asleep and never woke up. When swimming in stagnant water you could inhale an amoeba which eats its way through your nose and then eats your brainstem. You can get a flesh-eating amoeba from a water park. Ahem. River country. Ahem. I doubt poor river country will reopen. They removed the main pool because mosquitoes were breeding there, and some of the land has been taken over by the Fort Wilderness Villas. Plus they have 2 larger and more successful water parks that aren't synonymous with brain-eating amoeba. So, while it's sad to see it go, there's absolutely no possibility the bizarre water park beach hybrid will reopen. The serial killer Richard Chase would try random houses to break into. If the door was unlocked, he saw it as being an invitation. If it was locked, he saw it as a sign that he was unwelcome. When I was younger I was in my room one time, home alone. I heard our front door open and someone come inside while everyone was out. Hours later, Every comes home. I asked. No one had stopped by. It always made me very uncomfortable. I only really heard the sound of them coming in, not leaving. I was burgled a few years ago. It was about 2 AM, and I was sat at my computer wearing full headphones and an Oculus Rift headset, home alone. It's only when I took it all off and went to get a drink that I saw all my downstairs doors were wide open, as well as the rear exit door. It still freaks me out to think someone could have been stood right behind me and I would have had no idea. One time I was hanging out with this girl I was crushing on, and she wanted to go see her cousin in another part of town. Being smitten, I was like, sure, just tell me where to go. So we ended up in some ghetto part of town, and within 5 minutes of being in the house, we hear a loud bang coming from downstairs. We run down and see that the front door is off its hinges, and asked her cousin downstairs WTF happened. He nonchalantly says some guy was trying to rob the place and kicked the door in, saw the cousin sitting on the couch, and ran away. That's when I noped out of there. Kind of bizarre to think someone would do that in broad daylight on a weekend with like 4 cars in the driveway. There is a spider that has fangs so powerful that it can bite through a leather boot. It usually attacks multiple times and you have to grab it and pry it off of you. It is also incredibly deadly. Edit. I wrote it below here, but it's the Sydney funnel web spider. Because of its venom it is the deadliest spider. Let me guess. It's from Australia. Yep. No, those are just junky children from the train station. Hey, do you like watching memes? If you do, make sure to check out my other channel, Meme Cheese. I post hilarious weekly memes every Sunday, and memes from different topics randomly. Make sure to subscribe. Link to the channel is below. It's estimated that there's somewhere around 25 to 50 serial killers that are active each year in the US. One per state. Nice. That's 49 for Florida, and 1 for Alaska. The Pacific Northwest would like a word with you. There's a type of wasp that when it stings you, the best thing for you to do is to just lay down in the fetal position and just start crying/screaming, because its venom is so powerful. The tarantula hawk wasp, if I recall correctly. I'd probably recommend the same advice with the Jimpy plant TBH. 30% of the weight of solid feces is dead bacteria. Edit. For those of you requesting a source, here you go. Link. I'm actually editing a book that gives a higher percentage, which I had to fact check. I've not received a response to my author query about the discrepancy, but that's okay. I'm at the limit of my curiosity. Also, in terms of source, the person below that said typically, the anus made me laugh, as did the person who responded typically. For those of you who want a percentage in liquid feces, I'm having some difficulty with the centrifuge, and we'll get back to you. This is actually super interesting. Do you think it might be a different percentage depending on the type of movement? That is solids vs liquids and everything in between? Absolutely. Depends on the type and severity of the diarrhea, but you'll lose more water and electrolytes than solid matter or bacteria. Enterotoxins, released by some bacteria, bind to ionic channels on the surface of the enterocytes, intestinal walls, and basically releases water and electrolytes. One of the main functions of the colon is to reabsorb water from feces. That's why poop gets harder and drier the longer it stays inside the colon. Someday, one last person will remember you for the last time, and from that day forward, no one ever will. Not Mama Coco. It's called the second death apparently. Well, it could totally happen before your first death. In the 70s 80s, the first case of many Southeast Asian refugees in the US who died screaming in their sleep was recorded. This was common for Lao Hmong men who lived through the Cambodian genocide and CIA recruitment for the Laos Civil War. It's theorized that this was an extreme form of PTSD. One story, the man had stayed up 4 days fearing he would be attacked if he slept. He drank coffee and lied to his parents about sleeping. He did everything he could to keep from sleeping. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. Edit. I said first recorded, but I'm dumb and this was not the first record of it. And Laos Civil War not Nam. Edit 2. Some articles from the time. A digital New York Times article from when the cases really started racking up in 81. Link. And LA Times article from 88. Link. Edit. Yes, I watched Game Theory. It freaked me out and taught me something. I posted this and learned more from y'all. Like apparently the story I wrote was a fake one. But man, is it a memorable reminder the effects of a war that no one really talks about. These stories were what inspired Wes Craven to make A Nightmare on Elm Street. I swear these threads always pop up right before bed. Makes going to bed more exciting. People who sleep less than 6 hours a night are at an increased risk to die prematurely. My husband stays up late a lot, and he read this information recently. It was enough to put the fear of God in him for like 3 days, then he was back to all-nighters. Edit. But I like the irony that this information is what would keep people from sleeping lol. Gonna put my phone down now I think. Thank God. I know, right? Nice to get a head start on these things. Thanks for watching the video guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for exclusive updates and content as well. Goodbye.